All right.
Hang on, are we at?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
All right, it's 6:34 on March 20th. This is the Recreation and Parks Committee. Present is Councilperson Bruger, Mayor Southern, Councilperson Martin, Councilperson McNamara, our pool manager John, and then engineering firm. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Sure can. I'm Tim Schmallenberger, MKSK. We're landscape architects and urban planners. I've got Sarah Richardson here, she's a senior associate with our firm, and Amy Taylor, who's project landscape architect on that. So we brought a presentation in PDF form. We also brought a hard copy, but we'll go through this first, leave one, and then we can shoot you PDFs of it afterwards, because it's a fair number of pages in there. But it's all background information. And we got a short agenda here if you would like to follow that. But we're open. We want this to be about what you're wanting to find out about the pool process. And I believe what we understand is you're trying to figure out what is a pool replacement going to cost in general. So we have a range to show you here today of pool projects that we've done. And to figure out what's the right range location for what you're after on that. And so we anticipate from here we'll go into a master plan process, trying to apply what you see as your pool improvements. Obviously the public still would need their input, which would be the second step in the process. This is just really for budgeting and based on your knowledge of the community and what the community is likely after. As compared to other pools from that. That's about the best way to probably explain it from that. So with that, we'll turn the screen on here. I see they got a nice big TV here.
It's gonna be black.
So hopefully we can see it with the glare.
I don't know if I got the on button on, but let's
I'm
just
just turning my computer on.
Oh, okay. See if it's
I'm about to join you on that side.
Make yourself comfortable.
Light's about to be on my eyes soon.
If we need help, Mark's our local school teacher who probably is familiar with some of these boards.
No, my building's old enough as well.
Oh,
In fact, I should still have a smart board, but I don't because of the person who used to be in my room.
Sonic, I'm assuming that's it, right?
But no, I have a projector and a board.
I know we've used it before, so I know it works.
Mark, you
Just
just
figuring out the.
brought back a memory of those old smart boards that had that like projection thing out front that shone down. I haven't thought about those in forever. They had those. Those were new when I was in high school.
They're still around.
Yeah, they're still in both the Westerville elementary classrooms.
I don't know.
Now, mind you, we generally have ones where
I know, I
the
feel like it's not.
projector's coming down to the middle of the ceiling and mounted on its own post.
As opposed to those old ones where it was,
Well, as opposed to the ones with the arm that's attached.
yeah, the arm that was in the corner and kind of shot out this way and you had to calibrate it.
Well, they put projectors in before they put smart boards in. They put projectors so you can project things on
Pointed
document
at the
camera.
right each.
Fourth grade.
Where?
McVeigh.
Yeah, see them.
But I haven't thought about those in forever.
The TV's still coming up.
For a while, I was split between Hawthorne and Peterborough.
Really?
So I have done at least one fifth grade pool party at Minerva Park.
So you've been there for a while.
Oh yeah, I started in 2009.
HDMI 2.
I didn't even think it was that recently that we had done those.
Oh yeah. Up until, well, let's see, I left.
There we
I left
go.
Hawthorne
Beautiful.
in 15.
Works
to go to
well.
McVeigh. So sometime before.
Yeah, you guys,
15, but yeah.
MKSK, you guys did the baby pool.
We did.
I remember that. That was my first like couple months on council.
Yeah. Here's a
Back
few
in
cards,
2020.
just in case. And then, but, yeah, we scrambled with Patterson Pools to try and get the
I
baby
remember
pool
that. I remember you
replaced.
guys now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew the name sounded something.
Yeah, and so obviously the baby pool is in, so the new pool will have to revolve around it.
I might,
We'll discuss it. You got
Yeah.
it.
I
You're the
might take that
professionals.
over occasionally.
It's not per se a baby pool exclusively.
No, it is not. It is the mayor's pool.
We can see that.
Whoever needs care, right?
Okay, let's dive in here. let's go to some recent pools. Let's see, what's the first one?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So these are all pools that we've done probably since 2004. The Columbus community in general, including Athens down in southern Ohio, a lot of pools are coming to that 50-year mark, and that is about the end of the life expectancy of a concrete pool. A lot of them have had renovations like yours, where they put a stainless steel gutter on it, right? Came back in, cut it out, put a stainless steel gutter in to buy more time with it. I think the summer, that we did or the fall that we did the baby pool, you guys had a bottom that was like heaving up in the spring and something, and we're all, oh, yeah, that's what happens. Anyway, so the pools that we're going to show you here, and we'll give you the cost range for all of them, with the cost of each of these basically escalated to $23 as best as we can ascertain, just to give you a kind of a range here. And then we've got comparison at the end where it'll show your pool in a square footage of water compared to these other pools in kind of a square footage of water visually, right? So you kind of get an idea of scale.
Square or cubic?
What's that?
Square or cubic? Just square?
Yeah.
Cubic?
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
cubic.
Yeah. Volume's different, right? Because
That's what I was asking.
Exactly. Yeah. It can vary all over the place.
Totally different.
Yeah, just square foot. Basically, just square foot of water is how a lot of pools, are compared. So this is the Athens pool. What's interesting about this pool is it's on an existing site. The existing pool was torn out. It was raised 5 feet because their pool would flood when the river came up, which is bad from that end. So we raised this site 5 feet, built a brand new pool. You can see this is a stainless pool for the most part. So it's all stainless concrete bottom within it. And the features of it, it has a leisure pool, which you'll see in a plan later, a separate pool. And then it has the lap pool, which then is connected to the dive well, right, through this little neck here. Because this transition of water in pools is basically unusable, right? You can't stand in it, you can't, right? So it ends up being, so if you have a bigger one of these areas in a pool, like if we'd have done the whole transition, this whole area, you're buying surface water, you're taking care of it, and you really can't use it that well, right? So you'll see a lot of these, and the reason this is connected is because it saves you on a pumping system. When you separate the pools, the state code requires you to have separate pumping systems for each pool body of water. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't, right? So these are all things that influence these pools. The other thing you'll see is this is a leisure pool. So this is a shallow pool. It's got a zero beach on one end where the water starts at zero and heads on down, much like the baby pool, right? That was built. A lot of people hang out in this. You can see they sit, they just hang. The lap pool certainly gets used, but what the first question will come out of the lap pools is, do you hold sanctioned summer meets here, swim meets? If you do, then you want to have at least a 6-lane pool. If you don't, then we'll show you a pool where we did 4 lanes, where people can still swim laps. You just don't, you can do informal swim meets, but not like a sanctioned meet from that end. The other unique thing about this pool is it had a splash pad, which is no standing water, basically splash features, water popping out of the ground. And what was interesting about this is they were trying to extend their pool season for residents without having the pool open. So the pool is open for 3 months, basically, right? Memorial Day to Labor Day. Sometimes municipalities will go a week either way, depending on what what you want to do. The splash pad is used. We double fence it, where during the pool season, the outside gates are closed, and to get to the splash pad, you get to it from inside the pool. When the pool's closed, you close the gates on the pool side, and you open the gates on the outside, and the public can use the splash pad for another month or so, or a month and a half, before the pool season and after the pool season. And so they're still going to the pool to basically get in the water, but the pool's not open, right? Because most pools now, the municipalities have a hard time, they lose their guard staff because they go back to school. That's becoming a real problem with that. So the splash pads are basically adding length to your season without running the pool from that end. So okay, Athens had a lot of the the aspects to it here. Let's see.
What they do.
It goes quick, doesn't it?
It did go quick.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
foot
want me to
one.
jump?
Yep, Grandview. Grandview was another existing pool. And, you know, the big question is high dives. I'm trying to remember if you guys even have a high dive. I don't think you do.
We
Not
did.
anymore.
Yeah, most don't.
Yeah.
Grandview was emphatic, we're keeping a high dive. Okay. I said, check with your insurer, make sure that's all gonna work. And they were like, nope, we want the high dive. So they kept the high dive in theirs and replaced. Again, this is another stainless pool. It's actually two pools, as you can see. The lap pool tied to the dive well, and then the leisure pool. It has a slide tower as well that drops into the water. And you'll see, we'll show you where you can do slides where they just run out in a long trough and they don't drop in the water. And those are less costly. And it takes less guards to run it because you're not dropping in the water. You can just step out of the trough onto the deck from that end. So a lot of these pools, when we're working with a pool consultant who actually engineers, you know, the pool, they look at it from how many guards will it take to minimally run this pool. And so a lot of times that'll have an influence on your design with the features, right? So you kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Not that we're going to get into that in this process, but it is something to keep in mind, you know, as you're going forward. A lot of similar concepts, you know, in this one. There's this big seat bench here, and the top pool is attached to this pool, but it's a separate system. So if you had an accident in the top pool, it doesn't affect, you know, the main pool, right? You're out for 2 hours until the thing turns over, right? You know, from that end. So a lot of times we'll try and disguise that, you know, within it. This was a postage stamp site. It was tight. So the key to that is, you know, trying to get grass, deck, you know, they did a half court basketball in it, which you guys, I think, have that on your site as well. And parking there was a nominal parking on site. Most of it was on street parking, you know, within the neighborhoods from that end, you know, more of an urban condition. And what was funny about this one, when they went to build it, is we ran into a spring in the deep end of that, you know, of that pool that eventually they poured enough concrete over it that it, that it stopped it on that. But it was this spring just producing water. We're like, how can we capture that and use it for the for the pool? But anyway, and you can see, you know, even in the zero beach areas, you can have jets and and stuff in it. You know, you can make it as interactive, as you would like. Lap wise, they run a swim team, pretty formal swim team, so they've got an 8-lane lap pool in this area. Next, these are the Columbus pools. Columbus was severely behind in rebuilding their pools. I mean, it got bad where they couldn't get them open and they're trading around. So they jumped in. We did Dodge for them. We did Lincoln. We did Maryland. And we did Driving Park. So we did 4 pools for them over about a 6-year period or so with that. These pools are pretty efficient. And so the pools they were replacing, if you remember, they were large, like 50-meter, big square pools. Just big, they bought the biggest water they could buy, and you just played in it. One end was deep, but one end was shallow, and that was the pool, right, for the last 50 years. The pools now are more highly programmed by depth of water, and so you can reduce the amount of water area because it's very highly programmed. It's not just a big body of water that you're trying to maintain. So you'll see a lot of these pools. You'll see the lap pool in it. This is a 6-lane. You'll see the top pool, that's kind of connected. You'll see the zero edge right here, but it's separated, right? So you kind of, it's much like a playground, right? The kids by age, right? You kind of protect them, from the others running through it, right? And so
Really interesting
Columbus like to
integration.
have, little simple rails to kind of divide that up. And these are almost like sandbar shells, if you kind of think about it, right? From the shallow, to the deeper end. And then slides, they prefer the slides dropping into the water. They think that, brings a better experience to it. So there's always a part of the pool that has this, that's roped off. But they use this for swim lessons too, for teaching swim lessons. So that's why you see the big steps here. Kids can sit on the steps, the kids come out, you work with the instructors, they go back to the steps. The slides are obviously shut down during swim lessons, at that point, but it doesn't affect the rest of the pool, right? So it's all about the programming and how what you run through your pool, when you get into these design issues. Shade, a lot of people like these big 20-foot diameter umbrellas because it covers a lot of shade for the decks, and so we see a lot of that, and they're fairly cost effective, from that end. But you can see, all the entries and exits are, wide. They got nice railings. They're easily maneuverable, right? Just trying to really accommodate the entire family, right, from young to the elderly. From that, the pool bath houses, they're usually built pretty indestructible. So you see a lot of brick block type of that, open rafter sometimes, within them. Like if you've ever been to the Bexley pool. It's really like a board and batten facade, but when you go inside, you see the studs and everything. It's that raw, but it's all painted white. So it's a very simple. From the outside, looks like a finished building. On the inside, it's very open structure like this. From that end. So and then you can go to like the other end, which is Dublin, right, where they finish everything out. In the building. So the buildings are always a surprise. The Bexley mayor, I think at one time came to me and says, "Why? They told me they could build me a pool for $1.4 million." And I said, "That's true. That's the pool and the equipment. But it's not the deck. It's not the fence. It's not the building that the equipment sits in. It's not the bathhouse. It's not the parking lot. It's not the lights, right? It's So yeah, they can build you that pool if you want to step out of the pool on the gravel." For $1.4 million. So it's everything else that tends to add up, onto it. Pools are still relatively reasonable, as far as the mechanics and the structure. This is what we found. Okay, next one. Driving Park, again, it's the Columbus pool, so you'll see a lot of similar features to it. And what's interesting here is the diving well is its own body of water in this one. So it's not connected to any of the other ones. It sits completely separate to it. And these are all zero edge or deck level water, where the gutter's level with the decks, the water looks like it goes right across the deck. That's kind of the look that a lot of people are after these days. And there's others like Bexley has the actually step down gutter as well, within that. These are the diving well being separate. Most Columbus pools do 2 dive boards, 2 1 meters. The Bexley pool, they did a single 1 meter dive well. So it was half the size from that end. They just weren't into a lot of diving. They spent their money on 2 double slides from that end. Again, you can see the benches, the slides dropping into that area from that end.
I really like those benches that are built into the sidewalls. That is.
I do too.
Yeah.
I love that.
It gets a lot of use. A lot of people sit there. Yes, you can see it built in right here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like an envision.
Yep. Yep. Maryland, this is another Columbus pool. Again, a separate dive well. This one just had a few different features. It had a larger play structure in it, much like Dodge. Versus just smaller items, right? Just a little different program to it. Fenced lawn. Columbus likes visibility because they were getting people sneaking into the pool at night, swimming. Who hasn't? Anyway, it happens. So a lot of times now, a lot of the pools work on activated lights, motion lights. Lights will come on because LEDs are like instant, you have to warm up. So there's ways to work through that. Dodge Pool was their first one they did, Columbus, and this broke the ground for them. One thing they did do that they do different is they wouldn't do a separate baby pool like this, small. They found it hard to manage the water on their end. Now, I'm thinking, it isn't that hard, you know, because it's mostly automatic, right? Which is what you guys have. Sits on the wall there, works pretty well from that. But city, they always, you know, the city of Columbus is always trying to, you know, do less, right? So since this one, they basically have connected them. And that's what you saw in the other two. Okay, next one. Here's Dublin Community Pool. This North Pool. This opened what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago. 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Pandemic gets me all messed up. This is an existing pool that had to be replaced as well. It was a stainless wall pool. It wasn't the stainless that was failing, it was the bottom. And so when they felt they were gonna redo it, there was a couple, you know, the community had grown, and so they needed more water surface area. So when you see the plans of these, there's a lot of water surface area in this one. This one comes off kind of like a country club because it's got chaise lounges everywhere. The decks were all set up for chaise lounges. Bexley was much like that as well. You walk in and you kind of go, is this a municipal pool or what, right? So you can design that in, and it really doesn't cost anymore. It's just how you design it and how you would lay it out and the feel you get, right, when you enter the pool from that. Dublin, I think what else was you can see that their slide run out was pretty good size, and they had RAS too. Most municipal pools don't do RAS because it's a piece of equipment you have to replace all the time, right? Most time they do like an enclosed slide, tube slide, and then an open slide. That's body surfing really only. You know, that's where most communities land on it. They had this existing splash pad that was there. It was just upgraded, so we didn't have to really do much to it from that end. So they saved 3 buildings on that site, and the splash pad, and replaced everything else on it. The parking lot got expanded, but it was again a renovation from that end. But you'll see the cost they spent more than the others on that. Here's Bexley. What was nice about this site is that it's an existing site, and when you got done, it looked like it had been there for 50 years because the trees were all still there. So it's all surrounded by trees. So it looked like it's been there forever. You can see its baby pool, and it's in a separate fenced area with lawn, with some chaises, but mostly sit-up chairs, right? So parents aren't falling asleep trying to watch a toddler, right? Those kinds of things. It also had a splash pad that worked when the pool's open or when the pool's closed as well. You can see the building here, building in the background, as well. But on the inside, it's open stud and back of the finish, right? So you can keep it pretty, pretty cost effective with it. The awnings, that were added, right, kind of gives a country club feel, right? So the chairs, the awnings, the building, the concession, kind of help that read like that. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, back up. Yeah, and they're putting, the big thing here is they were putting, lawns on, or changes on lawn. Now what they would do is they would take them off and let the week to rejuvenate the grass, because they wouldn't get that, that much traffic during the week. Weekends, they would path. So then the chases would get spread out, over the lawn as well, and then they put them back. That's how they kind of managed a small site, and still had a lot of chase lounges, within there. Okay. Reed Road Water Park. This is the oldest one that we're showing you. This was from 04?
Design began in 04.
Yeah, 04. I think it was built in 6 from that end. This is a concrete pool that is also a deck level pool, but the water was managed very tightly. It has a lazy river in it, believe it or not, right here. It's like a little, and when you see the site plan, you look at it, you kind of go, that's wild. And it has this vortex, which this is just a big area where water goes around in a circle. It's like you're going down the drain. And we were all like a little skeptical about that. We're like, Are you sure? You know, the pool engineer that we worked with a lot, Councilman Hunsaker, we're building these, you know, around the country. And it's pretty unique. But it works well with the lazy river because the water kind of spins in it and you're moving water anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And they also had run out slides too. You can see them here running out, but their water for the slides drops into the pool, so they didn't have to buy a separate pump system for the slides. That was one of their money saving features, you know, that they did. Lots of lawn. They've lit it for night, you know, for night use as well. They've got, you know, 2 big slides, and these slides are pretty tall. They're big with that. Lots of umbrellas, and a piece of play equipment in the main, you know, pool area there, you know, where the kids play. And it came off as a slight country club feel, I think, as well, just because of the site that it was at. From that. Okay, what else we got?
That's it.
Cost comparisons. Okay, here's the range in costs from when the design start was and then through construction. And these include soft costs, right, Sarah, as well?
Yes.
So this is all in. This is soft costs, anything that was expended on the project, and the hard pool costs. So you can see from, and you'll see, and this will make a little more sense when we show you the plans and the size of the water. So the costs tend to be related to the size of the water and the size of the buildings that are on it from that end. So what we showed there was anywhere from roughly 4.7 up to $11.5 million.
What can you show us in the 1.5 to $2 million that we can actually afford
In
to
the
build?
range, yeah. That was gonna be my next question.
But
And,
you're
you know,
saying that these prices included the buildings and everything?
yes,
Any umbrellas, chairs?
Yes.
Is that the soft cost? Is that what you?
all in.
Survey,
Okay.
These are
consultants.
all in costs,
Okay.
right? Worst case, because you're trying to budget, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we wanna know
Yep,
just
Right.
where you need to land,
yeah.
right? And I even called Tim Patterson, just because I know him pretty well, and said, how's their mechanical building? Is it in good shape or not? And he didn't really recall. And I said, well, we all need to take a look at it
Yeah.
and just see, you know, what can we save of that? You know, is it worth saving, or are we starting over? Right, that's probably, you know, the biggest question on it.
You know, we'll want to salvage as much as we can with the numbers we're looking at here.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think part of it is, obviously, we already have a good start. We have the baby pool, the whole surrounding
Got
area,
part of it there.
obviously, that wouldn't be touched. I think the biggest thing is, you know, how we would configure the big pool to get us the best bang for our buck. Like, we don't have a swim team, but we have a swim team, that utilizes the lap pool. We always have questions whether or not that can happen, having the places for the kids. I had one quick question, I know we're not
Yeah.
really there yet, but before we did the baby pool, we looked at the splash pads versus the baby pool. We went with the baby pool because we were actually told from multiple people not to do the splash pads because there were more cons. If you could add a splash pad, great, but do the baby pool first.
yes.
Because there were concerns of breakage and liability, more so the continuous run of water, or I don't remember exactly, but what are some of the big cons of we all know what the positives are, it's
Yeah.
great for kids,
Yeah.
but what was
No
the-
water, no supervision, right,
Right.
no standing water,
Right,
right? And no supervision, you don't have to have any lifeguards with it. You can design them for low flow, too. You can divide them, and also design them where they're activated, they don't run all the time, right? Some communities do what, if they have a water source that's reasonable, will do what they call a flow-through system, where they're not capturing the water, they're just spraying it and letting it go.
right,
To, the sanitary. Now, that's a low flow, you wanna use a low flow system there. But you don't have you don't have chlorination, you don't have the health risks, right, of
Right.
if something ran out and had an infection, right, from that end. So, but a splash pad is just like a pool, you just don't see the water, right? Most of the time it's recirculating,
Right.
unless you can do a flow-through type system. Some municipalities, you guys know Columbus Water, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So, they charge themselves water. So, you know, the likelihood of getting them to agree to a flow through would be, you know, next to impossible.
Correct.
From that end. So then you're into a system just like a pool to, you know, to clean it from that end. But mostly how it works now is there, like if there's no one there, it's not running. There's a column where you know, to activate, you punch the button and then it starts to activate and it runs for however long you set it for.
Okay.
And then if they walk away, it stops. Right, so that's how they're managing that better. The surfacing, early on, they were doing rubberized surfacing in them. We did a couple that way as well.
Right.
The one in Athens, even though it was colorful, was a painted surface. It's actually like a coating that's more of a cementitious material, so it's non-slip, right? And you can get brilliant colors and all that stuff, but it's a hard surface, just like, you know, concrete from that end. The Betsy pool was a rubberized surface. They wanted a rubberized surface. They even put rubberized surface on their Zero Beach for the first like 8 feet. So if you slipped and fell, hit your head, there's an inch of rubber there on it. So, but on splash pads, you know, like Columbus, they're actually opting for more splash pads and less pools. So
I mean, you see them at Easton, you see them everywhere, but like, again, everybody just kept telling us to not go that direction when we first started looking at it because of the benefits didn't outweigh the.
It's, you know, it's less water that you're managing, right? So, you know, versus managing, you know, 150,000 gallons of water.
Right.
You know, you're only managing probably 5,000 gallons of water, you know.
I guess what I'm not following, the one pool you showed us at the beginning where you said they have the outer gate, so they open the month, or keep it open early.
Yeah.
And then like, what's the advantage of that? Are they charging more for that?
They don't charge for that.
Well, then.
They only,
there's no
the
advantage
splash
to it.
pad, the splash pad is during the pool season is inside the fence.
Correct.
So you're paying for it.
Right.
When the pool closes, they, both Bexley and Athens open it and you can use it for free. Because the
So
pool's
like,
not open.
yeah, so it'd be like.
Cause it's just like dancing in the fountain at Easton.
Well, I
People
mean,
can
I
come
get
up-
that, but
Exactly.
there's no advantage to us for
No.
it. If you want to
It's
be
just something
neighborly.
nice, hey,
and
yeah,
like-
grab next year, it's still hot and late, whatever, September, you can go down there and play in the sprinklers.
And they could go, essentially go play in
Fancy
the splash
sprinklers,
pad.
but play in the sprinklers.
But my first thought goes to kids destroying it,
Yeah.
when no one's there watching it, you know, what I mean, damaging it.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah. I mean, they're pretty indestructible. Just depends on, you know, the features that you pick with it. But that's why people do it, to extend their season without, you know, guards and all the expense of keeping water body up and running. Right. Other things that we'll see, you know, when we go into the, that's what we showed you.
Right.
Right, as a start, you know, that we've done. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Trends. So when you get into this, what you end up looking for are, what are the components that you think your community would like in their pool, right? And when we go to the public meeting, what we usually do is we put these pictures up of all the components. And we have a public meeting, we talk through them all, and then we give them, you know, 5 or 6 dots. And we have them go vote on which components they like. And that helps set the priorities of what they would like in their pool, right? And that's how we get the input from the public, when you get to that design process. That's always the best way to do it.
Like, just somehow.
I know, I'm starting to finally get out.
Oh, it's starting to get in your,
It's about to set behind those houses.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
okay, it's getting another
You
5
could
minutes.
move that board around, it's on
Do you guys
the.
want it back behind that?
Is that-
No, don't show yourself.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
just- if
You
you
saw it
stand
sitting
up.
right on the,
You can see it if you stand
Yeah,
up.
it's-
yeah, okay. So this is like the listing, so let's go through the photos here real quick and just kind of walk through this. There's a leisure pool component, right? Whether it's attached to the main pool or it's a separate pool. Again, it just depends on how many people you're serving. Athens, this serves the whole city and the surrounding counties, you know, to be quite honest. So they had to have a pretty robust square footage of pool.
Tim,
Yeah.
if you guys are willing to move it, it's easy to see from this angle.
Oh, over here?
Yeah, from the sides, it's fine.
Yeah, the
I
sides
can
are
see
better.
fine.
Yeah.
You're right over there?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
good right now.
And,
Yeah.
Okay.
and so these are all elements that,
Last one.
you know, come into play pretty quick, right?
Yep.
dive well, you know, most people are going with the 1 meter boards, pretty simple. A lot of times we're seeing them adding climbing walls to the dive wells, to the sides, where you're trying to climb, you know, I mean, when you fall into the dive well. They tend to work, independent of each other. So like you need to, you know, have a time when you're climbing and a time when you're diving, just because otherwise your pool's gonna get big, right? So that's how a lot of them do it. They'll have you climb for 30 minutes and then they'll have dive for 30 minutes. Climb for 30 minutes and dive for 30 minutes. You know, that's how they're, you know, a lot of them are managing it from that end. Lap lanes, you know, again, if it's an official swim program, how many lap swimmers do you have? Can you get by with 4 lanes? Like the Reed Road Water Park pool was a 4-lane pool. They had other pools that they could swim meets in. So this was just for people who want to swim laps from that. Water play features, we talked about playgrounds, we talked about, you know, splash pad features that are in shallow water as well. You could certainly do that. And then the big question comes up is, are you gonna put a heater on the pool? Most don't. Right? You open that pool, try and get it open a little early, let the sun do its work. Memorial Day might be a little chilly, but it feels good, you know, especially as you get to July, right? And then, you know, if you shut it down by Labor Day, it's not really getting too cool yet, right, to cool the water off. So most don't.
It's just one more thing to go wrong.
Yes. Is it great?
We're gonna do a
Sure.
heater, you'd want a solar heater anyway, and that way it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Just pump your water through a
And
couple
they always
hundred
say-
yards of black PVC pipe.
And they always
We'll
say
get
for
warm.
the elderly people, unless it's 115 degrees, they're not getting in it anyway, so.
I still swim, and it's an indoor pool, and they keep the pool at 85.
Right.
And just because, you know, the class of, you know, elderly, you know,
I'm gonna
water
say, you've never been to
aerobics.
the Westerville Rec Center, then them old farts are all over that heated pool. That-
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
That thing is.
That's what I'm saying, they like it hot.
Yeah. 85 is not hot enough for them.
Right.
You know, but if you're swimming laps, you're like, you know, it's hot. Anyway, most municipalities don't do heated pools.
Right.
Spas, they also don't do spas. They tend to just avoid that. From that end. Okay, next.
Don't you find that, I mean, because I know the places that have them, and when I worked at West Athletic Club, the spas are constantly something wrong. Because any lotion, anything just kills the water, just destroys everything.
Yeah.
They're always redoing them
Yeah.
and,
I'd rather avoid stuff like that
Yeah.
myself, just for the logistical and
Yeah.
financial
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah. And if you've noticed, if they're, even athletic clubs, if they had spas, they've taken them out.
right.
Right? Just because it's a small body of water, too many people going through it, it's hard to manage it.
Too many lotions, too many,
Just hard to manage.
and nowadays, people get UTIs from them all the time.
Yep.
They're-
Yep. So pretty much spas are out,
Yeah.
right? So we threw it up there just so we could have that conversation. But we agree.
Sometimes when Tiffany's in the baby pool, we blow bubbles for her, but other than that, we don't need any other spa equipment.
Huh, okay.
The Cabana boys haven't worked out, so.
I have high hopes for that this year.
Okay.
The 2 slide types are on the left. You can see the slides dumping into the pool versus the slides that run out on the deck. And you know, there is a pool, but it's right here. It's under the grate. Water drops off the end, drops into the grate, and it circulates in that system, right? But you don't have the big water to manage. So that's how you can do a slide or slides, and not have to go into the pool. But it just depends on what the public desires, right? With that, there's a lazy river. You typically don't see that in municipal pools. You know, Hilliard happens to have one, and I think Pickerington has one.
Westerville does too.
Up in Highlands,
Highlands, yeah, Westerville has one at Highlands, yep. So there's,
mind you, they spent
Handful.
$7.5 million on that in 2012, so.
Yeah.
it gets pricey
12
quick.
million now.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. You can see this one's very narrow, right? It's small, you know, and like I said, you know, that pool was the most cost effective of the ones that we showed you.
Let me ask you this, when you've done these pools for these people, have they ever come back and told you, not that you haven't done a good job, but if they had it to do over again, do you ever hear what they would drop if they, in hindsight?
Or what they would change?
That, look, that they did it,
Yeah.
but looking back now, they wish, I wish we wouldn't have done this.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had them come back and say that we wouldn't have done that feature at all. They would like to tweak it or do something a little different with it after managing it for a while. So, you know, I think there's a great benefit to talking to, you know, everybody out there who's managing pools, right, from a city perspective.
Well, let me ask you this, then rephrase it a little bit.
Yeah.
Where they put money, and you said tweak it from what to what has been mostly what you hear from them?
Let's see, like, I'm trying to think of, you know, of an example. The Reed Road Water Park pool. If you remember, see how the slides run all the way across the deck and drop into the pool? So they're using the pool water to run the slides. There's not a separate system for it. Well, this is a barrier across the deck. So to get around this pool, you have to go all the way back around the other way, or you got to cut behind the slides, and it seems like, you know, you're going around Robin Hood's barn either way, right, to get across the pool. So at Athens, this is the pool deck right here. So these didn't block the circulation around the pools. Now, they thought they were saving money here because they weren't buying a pump system for this. But the inconvenience of walking around that, they said they wouldn't do that.
Well, and I get that, the structural part. I'm talking more about, they ever say to you, hey, I wish I would've gone more leisure, less diving, anything like that?
No,
Really? Good.
no, they've been, yeah, they're all, yeah. The dive is pretty, you know, the 3 meter to the 1 meter, you know, that's the biggest call that a lot of them are, and most of them will go 1 meter.
But even Columbus City has changed some of their, as they've built pools over the years, they started to say, hey, we didn't like this feature as much, let's
Right.
change it up for this, so.
Right.
So it has happened,
Yes,
but,
yeah, they tend to do it in the next project.
right,
Right, especially, you know, larger cities where they're doing multiple pools, right? You know, you guys have one shot, right, you know, to get it the way you want it.
right.
And so, you know, they definitely wanna spend the time on, you know, getting the program right. Like, you know, our question is, you know, is this a community where, there's younger families moving in, so the kids are starting to, you know, get more prevalent? I'm guessing, cause it looks like the neighborhood I'm in, and we're seeing a lot of, young kids buying the houses, having kids, you know, fixing them up, all that, so it's starting all over again, you know, the whole cycle. And for a while there, we, you know, our community was, you know, more elderly, and the neighborhood pool, which is owned by Hilliard, that we use, even though we're in the township, it was less attended. Now it's crazy, it's back up again. So, and I imagine you guys would, you know, you allow people from outside of the village to buy a membership that probably just has a little premium to it, to, you know, to belong, right? You're in that business to try and offset the cost. Most do that. We talked about Zero Beach, talked about the Vortex, the Lazy River, swim lessons, splash zones, whether it's in the water, you know, or a splash pad, the dive boards, shallow water jets, you know, in a top pool. You know, all that's, you know, pretty straightforward. Bath houses, are we renovating the existing one?
Yeah,
This one?
Yeah,
yeah, that's not where the stuff is, that's literally just where they walk in,
Yeah.
That's
pay their money,
bathrooms and
it's
entryways.
bathrooms.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
Bathroom, bathroom.
Is it your intent to keep this and renovate it or replace it?
oh, I think,
I don't know that it is renovatable,
Yeah.
is that a word?
That would be my guess.
yeah,
Yes, I mean, I don't know that you could fix that.
Right.
I mean, what do you think, John?
I don't, no, I think,
'Cause
first
the
thing is
electrical-
knock it down, but the other thing I'm thinking is, if, the only option I would say for saving it is if we built a new one next to it and kept that for like storage or something, depending what kind of storage we would have at the pool, would that be a do, or would it look too shoddy with an all-new enterprise there?
Yeah, the latter.
Okay.
You know, my gut is, you know, like I'm looking, you know, we looked at those, you know, those I-beams, right, that are in there. You know, would you save those as an ode to the past and put a picture up that shows what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
And then
cool.
build a whole new building right where the existing one is,
Like,
right? I would tend to go that route because I think that building is, ooh, it's tough.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
There's nothing
It's,
worth
No,
saving and it'd only be
Yeah.
worth knocking down, not knocking down if we were gonna store something. or-
yeah, yeah, my gut is I'd probably clip that, but the interesting, the big columns there of the steel is pretty,
It's cool.
that's an interesting story.
It is.
Yeah.
There, shade structures, sails type things like this,
Yep.
pretty interesting.
Yep.
You're starting to see some of that stuff. Lockers, they tend to be the throw a quarter in, you get the key, when you put the quarter, when you put the key back, you get your quarter back, right, is what everybody's doing.
I'm gonna keep the quarter.
Yeah, it's kinda like, the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
Now, have you actually been to our pool yet?
Yes, cause we did the baby pool.
Oh, that's right.
And so we crawled all over it. We didn't get into the mechanic room on the far side because we were doing, a separate mechanical for that small pool, right? And we put it in a shed temporarily, right? That mechanical may go elsewhere or it may stay there, right? It just depends on how that goes.
Yeah, that particular building is,
Which one? The pump
the pump house
Yeah.
is not horrible.
It's about 15 years old now.
Yeah,
Got
it's,
blown
that's not
away,
That
so
is
it's been
not as-
replaced.
Yeah.
yeah, that is not, it's not falling down like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's 100 years old.
But the equipment in it is
That's 60-ish.
outdated.
Well,
It's not
60
efficient.
years old on that.
we've replaced some of the filters, we're replacing a couple more this year, and obviously the pumps in there and stuff.
Yeah.
But we extended that building another 6 foot when we rebuilt that one. So like Tiffany said, it's not horrible, it's a shed building, block and,
Sure, pump house, what do you want it to be?
right.
Right. It just has to hold the pumps, keep the rain off of them, all that.
So I'm just curious to see, when you went out there and you saw, since you've done obviously some beautiful work here, what was your first thought looking around? What'd you envision, just on your own?
Well, I think, obviously, the entry bathhouse would be replaced.
Right.
We started to think about, would the pool location substantially change from where it's at today? And the answer is probably not, unless there's some kind of a ground issue that we need to deal with. But a lot of that can get dealt with, right? And then there's the parking lot, right, which is mostly gravel, which is fine. But if you want to get to a paved surface or partly paved, then you got a good base, right? We're not really redoing base, on that. The fencing, could certainly need replaced or refreshed, right? From that end. A lot of times, whether it's the vinyl coated chain link or it's an actual, like aluminum picket, right? If you want to, kind of an aesthetic call, certainly a cost call from that. And then light, you have lights out there. I don't know do you still run the pool at
I
night?
think they work.
They don't work, okay.
No.
So that's the biggest question, like, if you don't think you're gonna run the pool past dark, where you need to have lights, or rent it past dark. A lot of communities will rent the pool for parties, but it ends up being late.
Right.
Yeah.
But you got residents living next door, so, it's only good for 2 hours, 9 to 11, right? And so you may not have to do lights other than security lights, if you don't get into that.
We had lights in the pool back when we
They
were.
they don't work now.
Yeah, they don't work.
Yeah.
That was all when they took the stainless steel, replaced the gutters, that was all cut.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they cut the top off the pool probably,
Yeah.
yeah. And, you don't have to have lights in the pool.
Right.
Yep. I mean, this is all things we've talked
Right.
about.
Yeah.
How old were you when you first came and seen that pool?
5.
Damn, same as me. What was your thoughts on River Park Pool when you were 5?
When I was 5, water. I mean,
That's it?
when I was 5, I don't think I thought about it.
Yeah, but our pool
Let me just
looks
say-
like all the rest of the pools back in
Yeah.
the day.
Really? I was gonna
Yeah.
say
Big water.
that,
Yeah,
this pool for me or whatever, maybe it's the first pool I've ever seen, but this pool, River Park Pool had a very impression on me. Those pillars right there, the structure, like the design of the building.
Yeah.
Obviously that building's old, but like that design theme with a big
Yeah.
tall, you probably don't know, but I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that.
Oh, I
it's a
know,
cool
shape,
feature of the
yeah.
pool, like,
Yeah.
I thought that we were, I don't wanna say.
Well, you
better
gotta
than-
understand, when I came and I was 5, the pool was only 5 years old then. Cause I came in
Oh.
68, so it was like new.
right.
But this was like a very premier neighborhood, a very
Right.
premier pool. This was
Yeah.
even from
Yeah.
age of 18 years old, this pool was like the nicest pool in almost anywhere around,
Well,
if I'm not
imagine.
mistaken,
Yeah, You see that, the little chain link fence?
Yeah.
That's where his ass was sitting most of the days when
Yeah,
he
how
was
do
a
you get
little
little
kid.
kids to stop running? He taught me how to swim, by the way, when I was 5 years old, so.
Whistle.
That had no effect.
No, he was a hard case.
And bless John for taking care of me as a kid, so.
This is just a random question,
Yeah.
and you might have answered this when I was gone, but, how deep does the pool have to be for the 1 meter diving board?
I think it's 12 feet.
Okay, and then what about the slide that goes in?
That usually hits you about right here,
So
so.
just 4 foot?
Yeah,
About 4.
4 foot,
Okay.
3.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
How big are the lanes for swim meets?
Swimming?
For those?
3 feet.
No, I mean, how deep, sorry.
Deep? Well, okay, so this is where you get into the depth of the competition pools, right? If you're gonna run a swim meet there, and you're gonna have diving blocks that they dive off of, right?
Yep.
Then it forces the pool to at least 5.5 foot deep on the dive end.
Okay.
If you wanna start at both ends, then your pool ends up deeper. And, so then it's a pool that you really,
Okay.
you're like this, right, for people under 6
So
feet.
it's deeper on the side, they jump, and I'm not a,
That
I'm
they
not a competition
start.
swimmer.
The
so I
starting
don't know.
blocks, right, so
Yeah,
if you want
okay.
starting
So
blocks.
they'd have to be on
Perfect.
the far side of our pool,
Yeah.
by the basketball court.
Alright, yeah.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you could be right on that, the 1 meter, I think you have to have, at least 10 feet.
Yeah, it's stated as a minimum.
Yeah.
Most of the pool guys go 12,
Right,
Yeah, okay.
Just to be on the safe side.
engineer, just to be safe.
right.
Can I ask a question to clarify? I know you said you don't have a swim team, but you do have one, like this kind
No,
of informal
we
one.
have, people that come in and rent the pool, and they have their swim
Practice.
practice at our pool,
Yeah.
all
But
summer
because
long.
it's not regulation size, they can't have,
Right, we
it
don't
meets
have,
that.
So,
so,
They just use Westerville pools.
yeah.
does that
So-
mean you would go with 4 lanes rather than 6? or-
No.
I don't know
I
what they
think-
would, I don't know what they need,
Yeah,
we would find out from them.
I'd rather go 6, just because,
Yeah.
like, they've been with us several years now, and even if they curtailed their use, there'd be somebody else out there,
Oh, yeah.
and they may want to do the meets, which would be, see, we switched from swim lessons, those were just dying out because parents they were working nowadays, they couldn't get their kids there, so we weren't utilizing the pool in the morning. The Y did it for a while, and then they stopped doing lessons because they ran into the same thing we ran into. And then the swim team approached me and the former mayor and said, "Hey, we'd like to rent you out in the morning." And it's great because we have a great relationship. They take care of the pool. They're reliable. They pay what they're supposed to pay. They clean up, and it's a great relationship.
but
Easy.
we see the potential, the revenue potential if we can do more with them.
Yeah, there is.
That's what I was thinking about.
Although if you're doing meets, then you're closing part of the pool.
If it's
and
before
you-
pool opening, then we're
Yeah.
fine.
And in some of the examples, that's why you saw
Yeah,
the lane pool was
As
separate
separate.
from the leisure pool.
right, right.
And sometimes they're, towards the back, right? So that people can come to the pool, go to the leisure pool, and there's a meet going on in the lap pool in the
Yeah.
back, and it doesn't
Right.
affect your operations.
I think we could also revisit swim lessons with how many, families are starting to have kids. Or again, I don't have the hard numbers, but I wonder if that wouldn't be worth.
I think the hard part is, and I didn't disagree with you, except for I have found that most of those, there's a couple places now, there's like 2 or 3 in Westerville, that's all.
It's like a
What is it
business.
called?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're actual businesses.
They're
Yeah.
business.
Yeah,
Some
those
are
little
like-
tot things.
Yeah, they're like
Right.
swim
Yeah,
tots
there's one by
and.
the Target in
I don't have any kids. I wasn't in the market knowing that
Well,
stuff, but
I realized that's what that
That's
was,
right,
there's
yeah.
actually one next to my gym, and then there's also one next to the tanning place in Westerville, and I was
Yeah.
like, what is that? And I
Like
can see all
aqua
these kids doing
tots
it.
and all
Yeah.
that
Aqua
stuff.
tots.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it's a total business now.
And the other thing that we run into now too, in the old days it was different, but we would have them in the morning before we opened. When all my guards are at football practice, soccer practice, lacrosse, they're not gonna come in and teach swim lessons.
Yeah.
It's just,
that makes
it
sense
doesn't
too.
happen.
Okay.
Competing, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Guards talk in the morning.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I think it would be,
It
yeah.
was a different world back then. I mean, we used to be packed in the mornings.
Oh, yeah.
But every mom in Minerva Park, my mom, they all sat at the pool and had their coffee and visited while all the kids had swim lessons. It's
I
not
went
that
to swim
world
lessons-
anymore.
I went to swim,
Oh, I went-
swim lessons like that, yeah.
yeah, I went to Hawaii too. I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, when the Y told me they didn't wanna bother anymore, and because the Y is big for lessons and stuff,
Yeah.
they're like, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, there's a shortage of lap lanes for swimming
Right,
Oh, yeah.
in Columbus.
Right.
It just is.
yeah,
And even though you're only summer, that gives them a break from an indoor environment and come to the outdoor, right? So I think that demand will always be there,
Yeah.
you know, to your
I
point.
agree, yeah.
And then there's always the summer leagues, you know, Columbus runs a summer league. A lot of the municipalities run summer leagues where they just swim summers. You know, most of the, you know, swimmers, swim year round, right? It's like
Yeah.
anything, you know, it's
Yeah.
like gymnastics, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's a year round, you know, sport.
And this group has two age groups, like a middle school and a high
They're
school,
the young
right?
kids in high school.
Yeah,
And they're year
so
round.
they're,
Interesting.
they're practicing
Okay.
for hours in the morning
Oh,
between
yeah.
two groups, so
Oh, yeah,
if we can have
They
meets
come at
there
6
as
in the
well.
morning
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
with the older kids.
but again,
Yeah.
our pool's not quite long enough.
yeah.
So the only other question that I have before is, you mentioned one of the pools was concrete and then most of the other ones were stainless. Is there a huge price difference? Because we already have experienced the concrete and I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Because we already have that problem.
Here's
But-
what happens.
Okay,
We always bid the jobs, concrete and stainless.
okay,
And we have the contractors provide the pricing for each.
okay,
If you just bid the stainless guys get greedy
okay.
and they price
That
it
makes
higher.
sense.
If they see concrete out here, then they stay competitive.
Okay,
So all the pools that you've seen in there, we've bid it both ways.
okay,
So they have
Only
to,
one chose to go concrete out of all of those, huh?
great,
yeah, well, actually, that one was determined to go concrete from day one. I kinda went like this, but if you look at the, you know, when you see the plan, you'll know why. It's got a lot of curves in it,
okay.
a lot of
So
curve
it's
shapes
more
to it.
that than
Yeah.
cost.
Right.
Right.
But when push comes to shove, they're really pretty equal.
Okay.
But I think, to your point, I think you get a pool that is more, longer lasting with a complete stainless wall pool.
What is the lifespan of stainless as opposed to the
That's what I was
concrete?
gonna
Well, the oldest stainless pool I know here is the one out in Hilliard, and it was built in the 70s. And it's still running. Like, it's a 50-meter pool. They've replaced the equipment,
It's still running well.
running well.
Okay.
Cause as I say, our pool was built in the sixties, it's still running.
Yeah, yeah.
Barely.
How much water are you losing each day?
Right.
Well, and that's
Lose a
part of
lot.
it, our flooring is
Yeah.
buckling. Now,
Yeah.
going back to the stainless and maybe the concrete's the same.
Concrete's still, the concrete floor is always on all of
Yeah.
them, right?
They tend to go with a concrete floor.
Okay, it's still gonna be a concrete floor?
Yeah.
Okay, that was
Yeah.
actually my better
And
question.
the reason that,
There
you
you go
know,
for that.
I mean, because, you know, in the winter, only part of it's exposed,
Right,
right? And the other part fills up with rainwater and everything else, so it's kind of covered.
so our walls are stainless, correct?
Down
Our
this far.
gutters, yeah.
the gutter.
Just that far, okay,
Yeah.
Just that far. That's a retrofit where they came in because
Right.
probably the top edge was blowing up,
right,
you know.
Well,
from
for
all-
years, we'd have to go and unplug the holes, cause rust would shoot out. And then they would get.
Right.
So we'd have to go, and then what we did to get by, until we got the money for that, they rerouted a big PVC pipe on the bottom and had to brace it in.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how we ever got through the health inspection with that thing, but we did it, and so that got us through a couple of years.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. All the piping now is PVC,
Yeah.
Schedule 80, real thick. You know, the stainless has a frame behind it, right? It's backfilled with, you know, like the stainless sticks down in it, and the concrete's poured up on this side and partway up the back, so it's buried, right? I mean, but yeah, the Hilliard pool out there, their main pool out there, that they built it in, gosh, the early 70s.
73, well, it'll be fine.
Yeah. And so that's
years.
the oldest one that I know of around here.
Yeah. Nice.
So,
Okay.
so I think, you know, what we would recommend that you probably go stainless, but we, you know, when you get to actually bid it, I'd bid it both ways. Just to keep everybody,
Right.
you know, but there's at least two good stainless contractors here. And, there's one in Mansfield and then there's Patterson Pools, which you guys use. From that, those are the two groups that basically build all the stainless pools in, you know, in this area.
now you do everything to get us to the bidding point, you, as far as bid documents go,
We
everything?
can't, we have to pull on, you know, like we'll pull on a pool consultant that does all the, you know, the engineering
Okay.
to it, right? We'll work with them on the actual pool size, shape, right,
Okay.
depths, right? You know, that's all the programming, so, you know, we need to understand the programming, you know, what you're wanting to do in the pool
Okay.
to be able to design the pool.
And are we gonna have to take presentations and bids on other engineering firms?
That's why I'm asking this stuff, because that's what I don't know.
Yeah,
Because I imagine, I mean, I know we did with the building, and this could easily be more than money than that.
yeah. And it depends on who leads the team too. You know, on most pools, we don't lead the team. We have the architect or the pool consultant lead it. But a lot of times it's an architect that leads it because of the buildings. Usually the buildings are more than pools. But if you're gonna save one building, then you only really have one building.
Right.
So then, you know, it might make sense to flip it around. The architect is a sub to somebody like us. The pool engineer is a sub to us, and then we coordinate everything
Okay.
on it. You could also go design build, where you generate the plan that you think you want, right? We can help you craft that. Then you would bid it out to design build groups, which would be Astro Pools or Patterson.
I don't think we're allowed to do that because we are not a charter.
Okay?
Don't quote me on that, but I believe we're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, we're statutory, we have to follow all of that.
But maybe by then we are.
Yeah.
No, we're not gonna.
Yeah.
It would, well, by the time we get to doing
Right.
this, what, 5, 6 years down the road, maybe, but.
Yeah. And
We're not doing it for this year.
well, the costs are.
Around in January, what are you talking about?
We're going. Yeah. Yeah, the cost, you know, whether you go design build or traditional, design bid build. We haven't seen much of a difference, to be quite honest, by the time you get to the total costs. They just come in different categories.
Right.
for the
I
most
think
part.
for me, I was asking because like he said, we have to bid certain things.
Yes.
And then how do I know that they're gonna work well with you if they're so
Yeah.
that's just one of those things we gotta figure out.
Yeah, I'm sure I mean, we don't have Jesse or anyone here, but I'm
Right.
sure we'll have to go
We'll figure it
through
out.
at
Yeah.
least a
Selection
a
process.
selection process
Yeah.
before we use
Yep.
MKSK versus
Yep.
Garmin, Miller, or whatever.
Yep.
I think, what was it, Garmin Miller is doing our community build, I don't even know if they even do pools. I just
Yeah,
know they're
Garmin
in-
Miller's the
Yeah.
I just
community
know they're
building
engineering
guys.
firm because they're the firm for our community building.
And not all engineers can do pools.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, I'm just
Right.
throwing that out as a
Right.
thing, but I
Definitely
know
you definitely want
before we did that,
pool
we,
consultant.
I'm pretty sure had to, not just wanted to.
Yeah.
Right.
Get 4 proposals, narrowed it down to 2, interview them, have them do their
Yeah.
thing, and then vote
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, you should go through a selection process.
Yes.
Right, because you really want a team that can pull the whole thing off, right, versus you guys wearing all the hats and have to coordinate all the stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Now, would you, you've never had to lose a season at one of these facilities, you start in the fall, ready to
Most
go?
of these, now Dublin, they didn't really care about losing a season, did they, because they had other pools.
Right.
But most of them tear it out in, September 1 and have it open by Memorial Day.
Okay, because we would
That's
definitely
how
want to do
most of them are
that.
running.
Right.
So, yeah, so you're getting it all bid well beforehand.
Right.
It's getting queued up. And, sometimes they'll even ask, can you close the pool 2 weeks early?
Right.
Right, and which most would say, yeah, let's do it, right? But as long as you advertise it, that's gonna happen for that season,
Right.
then they'll go. But you can, you can turn it in a winter.
Right.
But you gotta start September 1.
Right, you don't wanna start it in November?
So,
Right.
go ahead, let's see. 'Cause
Let's go to the next one here.
Landscape features next, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's pools and landscapes. The key here is that people like choices, they like grass, they like deck, right, everybody's a little different. Shade, right?
Are those lights on the side there?
Yeah.
Those poles?
Yes.
So those look almost like the pillars.
The pillars.
In front
Yeah,
of
that
our
looks
building.
really
That would be a
sweet.
cool feature.
Yeah,
Those
like
colors
A nod
would
to
be-
the.
Yeah, that would be a cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you added LED strips up that,
Yeah.
for a night,
Yeah,
for a
uh-huh.
night, if you were gonna do night swimming,
Yep.
that'd be pretty cool.
That is
And
really
there,
cool.
something we do need to focus on is shade areas, umbrellas, trees, what have you. We've got a few mature trees that we definitely want to keep. I mean,
Right.
Yep.
this just may be the healthcare worker in me, but skin cancer is huge, and you can't make everyone wear sunscreen, but you can at least give them options for
Yeah.
places to get out of the sun.
That's why we never see him at the pool.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You're smart.
Yeah, you're probably smart, yeah.
Anyways, let's keep going.
I won't judge anybody for tanning.
I'm teasing, I'm totally teasing, I've never laid out in the sun without sunscreen.
Okay, so, this kind of last area, obviously,
Yeah.
here's your baby pool,
In the world.
Right.
right? I'm assuming it's worked fine. For that. We pulled some pictures off your website of what it has been over the years.
Oh, that's the old
We were
one.
looking at this one here and
Yeah.
saying, this is before the stainless steel gutter was in.
I don't think that's you.
That's not us.
That's not our pool.
Yeah.
That's not our.
Is that
pool.
old?
We don't-
There's
we don't-
another, there's a village of Minerva.
Oh, yeah, there's Minerva
I
up high,
know,
like,
they're far away.
up
That's
near
right.
Cleveland.
And we get calls for them all the time, well, my kid's there. Well, guess what, he's not here.
No, this is
You know?
I was gonna say, we don't have any, we have steps in one corner,
If
but
you
not
would
nice
do-
ones like that.
I would have never noticed because the rest of them are, cause yeah, look
Yeah, I
how awful
I
that
noticed
baby
that too, I was
pool
looking
Yeah.
right at that, like, wait a second,
I was
that's not
wondering,
right.
is this what their old pool deck before the,
No,
before they had.
well, it wasn't that nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now I'm embarrassed, sorry.
all right, hey, no worries, next.
I wouldn't have noticed.
That happens
either.
all the time.
Yep,
That's funny. Okay, so in these slides, your pool's on the left.
right,
These pools are all at the same scale,
okay.
okay? So here's a driving park pool
Okay.
compared to your pool, right? So what we're comparing is the amount of water area in these two compared to these other designs, right? And so you can see driving park pool, similar, probably still a little bigger. Dublin pool's big pool.
Yeah.
See how much bigger that surface water is?
Oh, yeah,
We
They're
don't,
handling a lot of traffic there.
right.
Athens pool, you can see it was built in essentially three water bodies, two primary ones, right? Leisure pool, lap and dive. Slides were here, didn't drop into the pool, and you can start to compare that. That's still bigger than yours, but not much,
I
right?
actually love, no, I know you guys are not, that Athens pool is extremely cool because
Yeah.
you have that down there.
Yeah.
That middle pool just needs to be where people, I mean, it's awful, everybody's trying to like hold themselves up with those noodles and it's too tall for me, I'm 4 foot, not,
Our pool's
I
not
mean,
that deep, it's only like.
when you're 5 foot, when you're
Yeah.
barely pushing 5 foot, I can only stand in the baby
Yeah,
section.
It's deeper. you
It's
know,
too deep.
it's-
I getcha.
yeah.
When you
So-
look at
Yeah.
It's great,
Some of those thick flip flops you can wear.
I know, I get it.
when you look at our pool though,
Like this, you know?
So it's really, now, do you, like that particular one though, we would talked about like the different, pumps and things like that, like obviously our baby pool would be fine, which is the one in the
Sure.
corner. The one
Yep.
in the middle, so we would actually need essentially two more,
This is two systems.
that is two,
And if you
okay,
did a slide, dry like this, that's a third system.
right. Could we
If it
actually
jumped into the
do,
pool,
right, I was wondering, could
it
we
would be
move the
part of the
slide
pool system.
over into the lap pool and it only be used when, cause the lap pool would only be used so often. Could you put the slides over into the lap pool section?
as long as the depth on that end met where the slide dropped off, sure.
So that would be
Is it
interesting.
still three systems though? Or is it,
When
or
it's
then
then
does it
two.
become two?
yeah.
Uses the same.
Well,
You're good
the
with
slide's gonna have a different pump anyway.
it. Okay,
It's just where's the water coming from,
Yeah, okay.
right? If it comes off the big pool, it's because, it's gotta raise it up.
Right,
It's gotta put a lot more out than what the pool's filtering at,
okay.
right?
So
So you're always
you-
gonna have pumps with slides.
when you look at, for our pool being 60 years old, I mean, it's a nice sized pool considering what this community was. I mean, they really did have some foresight for where
Yeah.
we were gonna
Oh,
go,
yeah.
cause it wasn't even all of this at the time when it was built, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm impressed that
They
they,
were building
Can see
big
your
pools
house
back
from
then.
there.
They did.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that thing, little condo pool for, an 80-unit condo building, or this thing, is friggin' big. It's
Yeah.
like 50 by 100, I mean, you look at, if you've ever been to a modern day apartment or even condo, they have pools that can like fit in this nook, and they're like,
Right.
here
Yeah.
you go, it's a pool.
Yeah, it's small. Yeah.
So two things to think about.
But that also came from the back
One-
in the 70s.
All of that green space is pool property. Outside
Yep.
the fence, that's all part of the,
As well.
right,
yes.
it goes all the way
Yeah.
to, it goes all the way.
All the way to there?
All of that,
Yep.
that is
All
that
the
fence
pool.
line.
Yep.
All the way to, that's actually council.
We're gonna run out of money before we run out of space.
Yeah.
Wait a
it's all of
second.
that, it's all of that.
That's
Yeah.
Mineral Park
The other
property?
thing,
Yeah,
that
yeah, we own
we
everything
have not
there.
told you that you probably should be aware
That
of
whole
is
block.
that to the right of that space
whole
is the
area.
backside of Hawthorne Elementary
Yep.
School.
Yep.
Yep.
And they are building
Why are
a
we not
football
using all that
stadium
space?
back
What?
there this
Why are we not
coming
using all that space?
season.
That's,
The
we're talking
summer,
about,
I think,
Do you have they shared the
Start next
plans?
Yeah, we have all the
Next week.
plans. Oh, they start next week and we have all the plans for it.
Okay.
they start that
Because
next
we
But
want to
it's a-
see that.
It's a big field, I mean,
They're building
I don't think they'll be
a-
within 20 feet of our fence, but I haven't seen the plans.
No,
Building
I've
a
seen the
football
plans. They
field
have,
track.
they have on their plans where there's a walkway that connects to our pool.
Oh.
So,
It's
Yep.
gonna be close.
yeah, so it's a full track
Okay?
football fields, small stadium.
Is the stadium on this side or on the other
It's
side?
on the pool side.
Right-hand side.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
So,
west
so the
side.
west side, so they're not looking into the sun. Yeah, that's right.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
That was the big thing.
Oh, yeah?
yeah.
That's the big decision on
So,
this.
I mean, just something, you know, we gotta take that into account, that
Well-
there's gonna be structures over there and whatnot.
Yeah, well, with your pool
Yeah.
equipment building here,
Yeah.
right? Who cares,
Right.
right? If your pool hung in this area or even further east, if you wanted more buffer here, I think you could.
I have a question, and this is more for everyone here. Would we keep that kind of design, or is that kind of like, will we kind of mix it up and make it a little newer design,
Oh,
so to
we'd
speak?
scrape it, start over.
Yeah,
I think you'd want a different design.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
But see how, see how the lap component is always the thing that makes it look the same.
I like that, much smarter and well thought out.
Yeah, that
But
was,
it's, but it's way,
Yeah, the Maryland pool's a good
it's like
looking
you're
one.
designing rooms, right?
Right,
so in
in the
that
pool.
one, in the furthest one, if there was an accident in one of those sections, would you have to close the whole pool? Is there a barrier anywhere?
There
in
is
that?
a barrier on this, even though it looks like it's
Okay.
attached. There's a low wall barrier
Okay.
that you can sit on, and so that is, treated separately.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, that's where you have most of the issues.
correct. So no, that would be cool.
Right.
I like the
Okay.
Maryland pool and the first one on the last page. What was that one
Okay.
called again?
Well, we've got them all in here, so let's.
Yeah,
go
the
next.
driving park pool. I like that one
Oh,
too.
the first one?
Yeah, the driving pool. I like that too.
Yeah.
Park in Maryland.
Those are my favorites, but I know that's not,
Yeah.
particularly relevant.
Yeah, now Columbus has pointed to the Lincoln Park pool as their most efficient prototype.
Okay.
They like that one. It worked well for them. And so they, in another RFP they put out like last year, they pointed to that and said, we want as much of it like this as possible. You can reconfigure it, but we like this. This works.
Looking.
What is the furthest one outside of that pool?
that's the
Lincoln,
dive pool, right?
At Lincoln,
what is the individual pool? Is that the dive
Top
pool
left.
or
That's the
is that
dive
the baby?
pool.
Okay. That is
dive pool, and lap.
Okay,
And then this is like, the play, and then this is the tot.
okay.
Slide, swim lessons, and then this is the middle ground, it looks like a splash pad, it's got features sticking up in it, but it's in water that's like this.
Not super
Yeah,
deep.
that was a cool one
Yeah,
too.
but
Yeah.
this one, they like that one.
And it's efficient because of how much water's in the pool, or what makes it efficient?
It's an efficient, use of water, like if you look at the size of this pool, compared to yours, right? But look how much more is going on in it,
Right,
and it's a lot shallower. All this
right,
is basically shallow,
uh-huh,
so it's a lot less water.
yep,
But that's where pools are today. They're really designing them to meet the exact program
right,
That really is nice.
and try to minimize it, so. And then Grandview Heights, that was a study, see, this here still shows the slide being in a run out. And they ended up saying, now we want to go in the pool, so it went in the end of the leisure pool on that.
Have you had anybody, don't yell at me, do any of these pools in recent that just didn't want to slide? I know,
Rather than
he's,
us,
I know,
we
he's
put it
having a
in
heart
to
attack right
save some
now,
money.
but I'm just
I'm having a
curious.
heart attack, but
Well,
I don't know that we would do one without, but we've seen
Hocking
one.
Hills Lodge didn't put up the slide in.
Or opted for slides instead of a diving board or vice versa. Most everyone has both.
Most everybody's putting a slide in, or
Okay.
two.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, our kids are disappointed because we don't have one.
Just
right
because
now.
they're,
right,
that's just pretty popular.
Right.
Like, so always the question is that, what comes up is that, is it one slide or can you do two?
Right.
And you see, most of them stretch for the two, like they'll bid it as a alternate, right?
That makes sense.
One versus a second one. But what they find is that they'll always opt to do the second one.
Do most of them do like a larger one for the older kids, a smaller one for the smaller kids? Or I see most of them look the same or similar.
Yeah, because the tower's serving both slides,
So, okay.
right?
Makes sense.
There's not really an age, you just have to meet the height requirement, which is 42? I think it's 42.
is the difference with two of them the equipment, or just that you're adding the additional slide.
It's just the additional slide because you're already
Because
buying the
the pump is
pump
already there, right?
and you're already buying the tower
Right.
and the stair.
And you're already
Right.
putting a lifeguard up there.
And there's already a lifeguard up
Right,
there.
sure, yeah.
And it doubles your capacity,
Right.
right? So it
And
doesn't,
the
so that's why they do
bizarre
two.
would do that. if
That
you
area of the
still-
pool would get a little wider, but.
Right.
Yeah, but most people
That Lincoln
have
part
done the
is
two
nice.
slides. I don't think we've done one, God, in a long time that had a single slide.
Right. Well, we have the 2 diving boards and there's always lines for them, so I'm not advocating for it, I'm just curious if anybody has
Yeah.
just said,
Yeah.
like our issue right now is it broke and it's been a nightmare to replace it, so it's like, okay, if this breaks, what is this gonna entail for us?
Mind
I mean-
you, our slide was, you know,
Yes.
essentially a backyard slide next to
Yeah.
the pool, right?
Right.
Well, you guys
It's like
get in the
one-
picture. It was 6 feet tall,
Yeah,
you know, plastic thing on the side of the pool, climb up the ladder, jump in, no worries.
yep.
Right,
Not what I would consider a water slide. It was a slide next to
Yeah,
it.
and usually they'll do an enclosed slide where you're in a tube,
right,
and then other ones open, you know, with the high walls, right?
Right.
And people, you know, they'll go each,
right.
right? That's when you're seeing two, that's what they're usually doing.
I don't think you're gonna save enough money to make it worth your while to not have one, I think it'd be insane.
And you're
to
gonna
not do it.
double your wait time,
Yeah,
right? So that's where it gets
So
in
that's
there.
if we decide to spend the money to get, you have to spend the money to get the pump, the tower, and the extra
Yeah.
stuff. And then, yes, you would probably.
And if you end up
do,
phasing,
But,
right, you get the pool water in,
right,
and you allow the room for the slides to come later. And you reserve room in the pump room, and the piping and all that stuff. So you can, the slides are something that you can phase
Okay,
fairly easily.
okay.
have you seen, and I know you're working with all these different municipalities, people successful with grants and things like that,
Yeah.
working with you guys, or,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah, it just depends on,
I mean, we had
What-
one for the baby pool, I just didn't know if
Yeah.
it's these larger ones, if it's, you
Nah,
know, when you
I-
start talking about $8 million, I didn't know if there was,
yeah, a lot of them are, yeah, I'm trying to think right now if there's anything that we know of that's Parks and Recreation, but
I don't know.
yeah.
if you guys see any forward,
We'd have to run it down, yeah, our planners are the ones that tend to, run across that.
absolutely.
Yeah, from that, okay, well, let's go to the next one here and compare some other ones, just so you kind of
This
see.
might be it.
Lincoln Park.
One more.
Well, there we
Yeah,
go.
one more.
Bexley, Bexley.
So here's the Bexley pool, okay, now look at the size of the Bexley pool.
Yeah, it
Looks
looks
tiny.
small.
it has this more water than we do.
I know, not by
Yeah.
much,
But
How
this
much
is,
they have huge lap.
but this
waves
is
on the
also
Yeah.
all shallow,
right?
and that blue tinge, that's rubber.
Is that the one where
Oh,
you,
okay.
that's where you talked about the 8 feet or so, the 12 feet where they did the rubber? Is that the zero entry?
Yeah, this is zero entry, and this
Or is that a
is
plate?
basically rubber, that's been, it's
Yeah.
been, it's the granular rubber, but it's meant specifically for pools.
Right.
And they put it down about 3/4 of an inch thick. So if you fell in here,
Is that the stuff in our baby pool that wore off on people's feet?
Yeah, we'd like to avoid
I don't know
that.
if you had, I don't know if you had rubber in there.
We have the zero entry that's cushy,
Oh, then you did have the rubber.
yeah,
Okay.
In there,
So,
and
yeah,
it's come off?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Uh-huh.
Did you guys call Patterson?
Yes.
They replaced it, they came out and did it, but yeah, the first
Okay.
year,
They resealed
people were
it.
walking out going like, what the hell, why are my feet blue?
Oh, jeez.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, cause not in a year, it should, that.
Oh, yeah,
that
no, it
should be an
was
issue.
couple
Must've been a bad
months.
original seal then.
What's that?
A bad original sealant on it
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Or it didn't set right, or.
That sounds like that was an issue there with the
Yeah.
install on it. Most pools are not doing that now.
Right, oh, yeah, ours is,
We're just not seeing it to that level.
okay.
yeah, it's nice, I mean, it's definitely nice.
Yeah, it's a safety factor. And then take a look at the Reed Road Water Park, okay, so look at that pool.
Yeah,
That scale looks like it might not be right. 1.6, that could be.
Yeah.
But you can see the 4
The mud
lanes.
planes look right.
yeah.
It's throwing me off because it's white, all I can tell, all I
Oh,
can
yeah.
think is, I'm like, is that the,
As opposed to our green water?
I know, could you tint that
Well-
blue?
Well, we probably should have.
Nope, if I were to go out and left it just like it was, like, oh my gosh, look how awful that
We
is.
probably should have.
Just makes us
Like,
wanna replace it more.
you can see where the deep water
Yeah.
is
Uh-huh.
in the Bexley pool for the diving blocks.
Right,
Yeah,
Right, the pool does this
right,
at that end, so they can run swim meets there, so that's why the water's collected there, over the winter
yep.
on that.
Oh, 'cause these are taken when there's no water, and that's why it's all
Yeah.
white.
Yeah, we're kind of at the mercy of when the aerials were taken, you know, for this part, but
That makes
anyway,
much more sense.
that starts to, I think that's the last one, right?
Yes.
I think.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
one more.
Wow.
Dodge Pool, which is, you know, downtown. And you can see from a Columbus pool, that was the first one that was redone. So that was the prototype that kind of went, you know, formed all the others. With it. That slide, you know, obviously went into water, they liked that. The dive well was separate. And a lot of these pools, they like the pumps below the water surface. So in the mechanical room, it's down about 4 feet. I don't know if yours is like that. Okay. There's no priming issues then, because the pumps are always flooded. So the pool engineers like flooded pumps, because it's just less issues from that end. And so, depending on how that building was built, right? Can you deepen it, or do we not have, you know, flooded pumps, right? There's a lot of things, but that's an engineering detail. That's the next step, right? That's down the road. You know, now it's about size and site work, right? And building. So, was that helpful?
Very.
Yeah,
Yes.
yep.
Okay.
I have a question. What is the average lifespan of a pool?
They still say 40 to 50 years, but I know these stainless pools go longer. Do they have to do some bottom repairs, replacements? Probably, at some point. I'll have to ask, you know, I mean, we could ask Patterson on that, they would certainly know. I think they're the ones who built most of Hilliard's pools out there. You know, if you've seen that, they've got, you know, like a bunch of pools on their large property where everybody goes. The lazy river. I know they don't like the number of guards it takes to watch the lazy river. I mean, I remember swimming in the Hilliard pool when it was fairly new in the 70s, early 70s on it. It's still the same pool today. You go out there, it's still the same stainless steel gutter and walls as it was.
So here's like the most random thing, and this is Jason, close your ears. So, we know ours is coming to the end of life. I mean, we've been told that from every single person that's been out there.
Yep.
So the first question that I have, and this is not by any stretch what I have interest in doing, but is there, assuming we couldn't move forward, is there something that we can do to ours, like if we ripped it out and put it back exactly the way that it was? Meaning new flooring, new walls, new everything, and just left it alone. I'm really putting you on the spot here, but what does something like that entail? Is that even possible to do at this point? Is that something, I mean, I know that that's not
You can
by
do
any
that.
stretch what we would want to do.
Yeah.
It's
You can do
like
that.
where I would want to do maybe a little bit of an
And, but I
addition,
think
but yeah.
that if we don't ask that question, you might have some residents go, why didn't you just fix it?
Basically,
And I don't mean fix it,
Well,
I think we're
'cause
beyond
it's-
fix.
Yeah, you're beyond fixed.
But could you rip
You
out?
could just, you could tear it all out and put new things in, and it would probably be a lot less, I
Yeah.
imagine.
And the big difference here is that it wouldn't be as deep,
Right. It would not be as deep when we did, okay,
because the program's different, right? Your programming would be different. It wouldn't need to be that deep,
right.
right? And so the less volume of water you have, the smaller your pumps, the less water you're
Right.
treating, everything gets cheaper, right? So, you know, you wouldn't wanna build it back exactly the way that
Right.
it was, just because of the volume of water. You wanna try and reduce that.
So if we
To
wanted.
make it like what I hate about modern pools. You
Right.
either have the lap lane, or the water comes up to mid-thigh, and you're like, where's my
Yeah.
pool to play
Yeah.
in?
You gotta have some-
I'm
you gotta
either
have some
in a
mid-level.
lap lane, or I'm wading
You gotta
through
have
a
mid-level.
deep creek.
Yeah, you do.
For us 5-foot people, I just gotta tell you.
That's what the kid side's for.
A couple hands, yeah.
So, I mean, so at the end of the day, that is something that we could potentially, you know, as a comparison, we could
Yeah.
say, what would this look like if we just did X?
Yeah.
And then if we did something like that, maybe potentially adding another pool of some sort back over in this area that maybe had some additional features or something as like a 5-year plan. This is what we do, year 2 and 3, we fix all of this, and then year 4 and 5, we actually add an additional pool,
Yeah,
like we did with the baby pool.
yeah. I would say it's
It's either
not
be
gonna
more
save you
cost
any money.
effective.
It wouldn't.
No.
You'd save a little on excavation maybe, but you're gonna have to backfill and like get
Maybe.
it back to the
But
road.
because you got to make it shallower, right, a little bit, depending on the program, right, that you come up with, you're gonna have to fill it, right, because that pool's deeper.
Yeah, well, we have plenty of fill dirt sitting in the bottom of the lakes that we've been looking for places to store, so that works.
Well, that may not be what they want to build on.
But if you were just gonna redo it like Tiffany asked, you wouldn't have to make it shallow. I mean, we wouldn't
You
want.
wouldn't have to change up.
We wouldn't have to make the 12-foot shallower because we have the 2 boards.
No.
So why really are we gonna, the rest of it's just 6 foot, we're not gonna make that any shallower
Yeah.
than it is.
But you should to Mayor's point there, right? Water about like here is better. It's more usable.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It
you
just
just do a
is.
little spur off the shallow end and make the shallower end
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
Kind of square off the upper left hand instead of having it be a cutout.
Yeah. I mean, clearly putting the new pool inside the hole of the old one for the most part saves excavation, all that.
And what it does is, I would hazard to say, what the big advantage of that is, if we do that, chances are we're also not building fancy buildings, putting in fancier water features, putting in slides. We're just saying, we just want a big thing of water that people can go in with some diving boards, which is we have now.
Yeah.
And that's a good enough pool for the past 50 years. They can have that pool for the next 50 years. They don't need a water slide or
We want the water slides.
Or, yeah, I know, but I'm saying what you just said is, hey, we don't need all that, we didn't have it, we don't need water slides, we don't need splash pads and jungle gyms in the middle of the pool. We just want a big thing of water that people can swim in.
For the record, I'm not advocating for it, I'm just making sure if it's an
And
option,
I kind
we
of
look at
agree
all
with Tiffany when
options.
she says that.
It's a gut check is what it is.
Right,
Right,
well, I
it's-
just think that, again, when you start looking at, grant options are gonna be something huge, but I feel like if you're going to spend X amount of dollar, at some point you start looking at those numbers and go, okay, that's more than our building, our lake excavation and everything. All I see is a heart attack ready to happen from these it was definitely surprising to me to see them that high, I'll be the first to say
At
it.
this point,
I
Tiffany,
didn't
that
see
would,
I thought the one that he did for 4.9 was low, I didn't think there'd be anything under
Oh, I
5.
didn't, I'm apparently totally out of touch with reality.
to
Well,
do
I'm not
this
surprised.
though, would this, and I totally agree with what you're saying, would you have to put this to any vote of the residents or?
We could pass it as an emergency and take it off referendum. If you guys would all excuse me, I told the wife I'd be home by 8 and it is 8 o'clock.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have to.
Okay.
Well.
I mean, do you think you'd get some?
Just, and maybe I shouldn't say that, depending on debt limits and things like that, yes, there is a
Yes.
potential that we might need to, at those types of prices, yes.
Right, and you're right, you're gonna get, cause there's some
That might be
people
a pass or
who don't give a damn about the pool regardless, so
Right.
they're gonna be like, hell no, I'm not voting for that,
Yeah, and you'll have the other
We
people that
don't
are
need-
totally on board.
We don't need $3 million in bonds to build a new pool. I never swim.
Right.
And I mean, we do have some of those, so I think
Lots of them,
just
yeah.
making sure that we have, and I don't know how exactly we go from here, just so we know.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Good comments.
We have, option one, this is just doing the bare minimum, but we know we have to do something, and I think that's part of it. Now, in my mind, if we're gonna do something, I would rather it be more in this century. So I'm advocating for, I would like to see quite a few different things, I mean, we need a new building, we almost need a new building before we need a new pool, we need both.
Yeah.
So, it's going to cost some money, but I think, just knowing that we look at all options is us doing our jobs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a crazy
We could
question.
phase buildings
And
in
phase it,
too
yeah,
if we
and-
needed to, right?
Do
I
these
mean,
buildings
Yeah.
pay for themselves?
Well, then the thing will be, okay, what are the code issues, right?
Good question.
Yeah,
It would take a
Because, you
very
gotta
long
replace the
time would be my
pool.
guess.
Once you
Because
do,
pools don't
And it
cost
starts to
money.
trigger everything.
They don't?
Okay,
But
that
pool
makes
should
sense.
not,
That's what,
I don't think
that's what
this,
happens.
my
I mean, I
philosophy
think-
has been that the
I think-
pool is not designed to
Yes,
make
it's a
money.
huge
The pool,
investment,
if it makes money,
but
that's cool,
we
if it
have
breaks
a
even, that's
pool
cool.
that we
The pool is a public
lasted
service
60
we run
years and
as a
we
benefit
know
of
that if we build
the
it
government
right,
to
instead of
Minerva
money,
Park.
Surprising,
it's gonna
yeah.
last for another
Well,
60
and
years.
I think it'd be more successful, like you've done an excellent job tonight. But if we would have to foster a campaign, not just say, hey, this is what we're doing, we're building this 11.2 million. We'd have to get a campaign
Yeah.
going to bring people in, show them what these other areas have.
Right.
We wanna be, like Tiffany said,
Right.
in this century.
Right.
We can't just tell them,
Yep. And
Yeah, we know how that worked out.
We've heard people say, you know, we don't go to this pool because Highlands offers this stuff. And we hear the opposite.
Correct.
We hear the Highlands is always packed and
Yeah.
you can't find a seat and I can't see my kids. And we like this pool because I
Correct.
can see my kid from anywhere around
Yeah.
this pool.
Visibility's big.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think,
It's like you do have to meet in the middle, I think
Yeah.
some of these pool, you know, the slides are great, I think that the residents would want the slides. I'm not, again, advocating for no slides, they definitely use the diving boards, I mean, there's always a line for the diving boards. So I think that it's just a matter of figuring out, what are the most beneficial things and what do we really want to do? I mean, we want a real concession stand, we want,
right.
you know, again, the building is gonna be huge. I mean, the building is something that,
I think we understand that if we build something correctly, so right now, I mean, the pool costs the village money. Like,
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
the pool is not self-sufficient financially.
Yep.
It's not a terrible debt for the village, but it is still a debt. And part of it's just because we don't get the membership because there's not enough amenities for.
Yeah.
So some of the thoughts we've had are a building that can be rented out, like a rental space in the building for seasons, like not just winter time or summertime, but
Grandview did that.
yeah,
They put a community room.
right. So because
in that
we're
building.
building a beautiful new municipal building, however, the spaces where people can rent it, it's a carpeted space and it's meant for business meetings, not for weddings or other graduation events, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Where it does not have a full kitchen in our new municipal space, whereas we could have a full kitchen and provide that
we
type
have
of stuff.
dreams, we have
Yeah.
really good, big dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to
We
say
talked
it.
That's where it
about the
starts.
meats. Yeah, we
Right?
talked
And
about
how
the
can we
meats
get
and
there?
Correct.
how- and
Well,
having
it's our
meats
job
at
to
pool.
help
Right.
you and your citizens
Yeah.
understand.
And I think, and I'm gonna take the lead on saying this, 5 years to me is insane. Like, I feel like this is something that my vision is in the next 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
that it's here. Or at least and I know that there's definitely different people with different versions of this pool's, I've been a part of this, John's been a part of it, the repairs have been much more substantial over the last probably 2 to 3 years than we've seen.
Yeah.
So I think it's just gonna, it's gonna keep happening, and at some point, we need to make sure that we're,
Yeah. I
we
mean, the
have
other
options.
option is to just fill it in and be done with the pool, but I don't think that
None of us,
that's,
no, that's
yeah.
not, no.
I don't think
Let
that's
me
what,
just ask, what would something like that, the bare minimum, so to speak, run, just a guesstimate? Or-
The number right now that call it the pool water surface is running about $180 to $200 a square foot of water to build the pool and buy the equipment. Now, your decks, your site, and your buildings are on top of that. But that's roughly the unit price right now on it.
And this is the 2022 is basically showing the inflation as of nowadays.
Correct.
Okay.
which was the one, is it Lincoln, what was was that one that we said we liked?
I think that's
I really
what I
liked it.
said.
Is that the Columbus
This is-
pool?
Yeah, this is
that-
the one that they point to as their like prototype.
Okay,
It's
the most
pretty
efficient, the one that was most efficient.
It's the most
So-
efficient.
So your estimate for building that same structure right now is about 6 million,
Yeah, right,
Okay.
because this was done in.
right, 2014, yeah.
Yeah.
See, so it's 9 years.
And what did that include in that? Can you go back to that one to see, so we
Yeah,
can see what was on it?
Go back to
Plan.
Lincoln there.
Lincoln.
Lincoln,
Okay.
right there.
So did that include any of the buildings or was that?
Everything.
Okay,
This parking lot was there.
okay,
We added the drop,
okay,
new building.
okay,
We reused these 2 shelters, relocated them.
okay,
New pump building,
okay,
and obviously the pool's all new. And
Okay.
this was the site detention that had to be
okay.
put in
And
place
what's
for it.
in their building?
And their
Like, what does
building
that
is
consist of?
basically, in this end, it's like the guard area,
Okay, so like a guard lounge or rest area or something?
guard lounge, first aid.
Okay,
and
About what
obviously-
square foot is that? Just,
I'd have to look that one up.
36.
Yeah, we'd have to,
I thought he was serious, like
Yeah.
3,600, I was like,
Anyway,
wow,
next to your parking lot there, what is the white
No, I
area?
mean 3-6.
This,
Yeah,
this is an existing rec center.
okay,
See, they tend to group things.
Right.
right.
Like driving
So-
park, they attached to an addition to the rec center, and the restrooms were actually in the building.
Okay.
And it had doors that they would switch around.
Yeah.
So in the summer, you would close the one door, and
Right.
the restrooms were available to the outside.
Right,
And then in the winter, it would be a bigger locker room for winter time.
Right.
okay,
And
so
then-
there's bathrooms, locker rooms of some kind in here,
Yeah.
concession?
But you really, if you think about it, I mean, the rest, it's really for changing and restrooms. And then the lockers, they tend to put outside,
Right.
so it's visible.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of that 6 million, obviously part of it's the pool. What was the building portion, what did they get with that building?
I'm guessing that building
Like
was
amenities
probably 400,000.
Okay. Oh, the
That's-
building
Just 'cause of
isn't bad.
restrooms.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of plumbing in it.
And then and this is, all that has to be up to handicap accessible, wheelchairs being able to get in, turnarounds in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Multiple stalls.
Not a step really in anywhere. It's all one level, basically.
Now, do they do indoor showers or just an outdoor shower for them?
You can,
Does anybody do them anymore?
they are doing like one.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Not
I think
very
Dublin
many.
had both.
Yeah, Dublin does have both, they had outside and inside. They were just given choices, on it, but most of them are doing one,
Right, that makes sense.
just one. Most people, put their stuff on and go home.
Right.
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 Do the teams that use them for the meets use them at all? I don't know, again, I don't know anything about them, I don't know what they,
If you have hot water in your shower, they'll be in there, loosening up, for a swim
Okay.
under the hot water, but
Right.
I've seen that.
I don't even think we have hot water, do we?
I don't think so.
No, not now.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Bexley was, believe it or not, was pretty Spartan on the building. It
Yeah.
looked nice on the outside, but the inside was just,
Right.
you saw the studs and it was just painted.
I'm just thinking, do you guys know, do you have recommendations on what attracts a team to wanna rent a facility? Like what amenities would be?
Well, the biggest thing is like, birthday parties, right, where they rent the room, for the birthday party, but then it's also at the pool.
Right.
Yeah, so
And
like,
so they have, the run of that whole place
Right.
for however many hours they want.
Right.
Were you thinking
They've been
more
renting
the lap
that
lanes?
day in, day out, all summer.
More the lap lanes?
Yeah, I'm talking about more the lap lane, for meets, I was thinking about for meets, for competitions. Like what do they, if someone's gonna say, hey, I wanna sign a contract to rent your space for this season,
Yeah.
what kind of amenities are they looking for? That's what I was wondering.
Usually they're buying
Yeah.
a pool out, for a night pool party is usually what's happening.
You're
What
talking
I've seen the
swim
most.
team.
I'm talking about swim teams, yeah.
The swim
He's talking
teams,
about laps,
Yeah.
lap lanes.
I would think
For
the pool itself,
competitions.
first of all,
Right.
with starting blocks and everything, that part.
Yeah.
And then if they have adequate space, I would
Right.
guess.
Do they,
is
are
what
they
they're
looking for
interested
any
in.
bleachers, are they looking for, again, like locker rooms to change in after the meet, things like that?
it
I
could,
just
it
don't
could
know.
be, I think it could be minimum
Yeah.
Okay.
on that.
Okay.
The swim team,
Because
they're
they say
carrying it with them
that-
in their backpack.
Right,
They
okay.
say they have some pretty crappy places they go to, just so they have some place to throw their
Yeah.
backpack. They're good.
yeah, getting a swim team or two involved would be really beneficial, because like it's not, my political philosophy is that the pool should not be run as a profit maker as much as a municipal service, but if we can find a way to improve our financial footing without burdening the residents, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, anything that you can do with it will offset it. Most pools don't cover the costs.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't. And you always hear the first thing that comes out when someone's gonna do a new pool, right? The swim teams get organized and they're like, you should build a 50-meter pool,
Right.
right? Well, 50-meter pools, you can never get them to pay off.
Okay.
So, like Worthington's sitting on a bunch of old pools over there. If you've been to their pools,
Yeah.
their underground piping is shot. They've had to put piping on the surface and run it across the surface of the property and put benches over top of it. And then they have their new temporary equipment under tents outside because their other equipment is dead. That's in their old mechanical room.
Wow.
So they have band-aided that to the max.
Wow.
And they
Okay.
still haven't got a plan to replace that.
We're not quite there yet.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So-
that's what the end looks like. You know, if you wanna go look at Worthington,
Yeah.
So at the
they're
end,
really Band-Aiding.
What are our next steps?
maybe
here?
approaching
What are
the
we-
end, but not quite.
Yeah.
Yeah, where do we go from here? That's
Okay,
what-
so what we would do from here, all right, is, you know, based on what we heard, we would come up with just a conceptual plan. We'd base it on, you know, call it Lincoln Park or something, you know, that area, you know, what we've heard today, right?
Right.
And it's mainly for budgeting purposes,
Right.
right? Because the whole program thing is really the next step with the public. And that conversation, it sounds like, would say, okay, people, you know, whether you have a bond issue to
Right.
accompany it or not, here's what we can afford, here's what we would like to do, right? And do you agree? Right? And if you do, then let's run through this program and get your wish list, right? But that's really the next contract. That's when you get into designing it.
So doing something like this, and I know I'm just going back in, how hard is that gonna be to utilize our current baby pool? Or would we just leave that part out, because obviously we just spent a small fortune in this.
We will work around that so
Okay.
it stays intact.
Okay, because other than that, I would like it to move to my house. I only live a couple streets over.
Okay?
And would you suggest
You know, those
though,
really long
We made the
slides.
assumption you were gonna keep that baby pool.
Yes, and I think
Intact.
that, yes, I think
Right.
people would
Just
hyperventilate
take that
if
house in
we.
the bottom.
Decide
Yeah,
what
we
we
just,
want.
Corner,
yeah,
have
just,
bigger
we just
parking
paid a
area.
fortune
You
for
know,
it a few
will
years
Will
ago.
the equipment get moved somewhere else? Maybe, but it
Right.
could also stay right where it's at.
Right,
And not worry about it.
It seems like we've been kind of collecting the costing information and we can start to dig into it a little more. We might not have exact numbers, but we can give you a sense of, you know, expect 40 to 50% of the overall cost is the pool and stuff. So I
Right.
think we
Right.
can help define
Right.
that a little, to help you start to establish
Right.
some preliminary priorities so that we
Good.
can do a concept that starts to reflect where you're at now
Right.
to take to the public.
Yeah.
Good.
would you guys suggest in going to the public that, like this, a small group comes up with an idea rather than going out there saying, what do you, cause you know, we got too many people here, you're never gonna get anywhere, so would you have a concept in mind, take it to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, we
think,
don't wanna get scope creeped.
Right.
yeah, I think you start off with, call it a budgeting concept that says, here's what we think will serve the community. All right, now we need to design it with you, public, right? And maybe, you know, if we get some grants, we could get some more features in there. But this is what we're basing this on and where we're gonna go try and find funding for,
Right.
right?
And we could set it up to kind of control the choices and, aside from giving people dots, we've also done public meetings where we have red, yellow, green dots, green for good, red don't. And, you know, we could say, okay, here, you know, just for sake of argument for this evening, say, here's our low-end features. And we could put those on boards with images and have people react to that. And then we could have other things that are maybe more aspirational, and we could say, long-term, you know, what's your vision for the future? You know, and we can divide things like that kind of help make
So you
sense
could
of
divide it into phases so people could conceptualize it?
And just so we aren't gonna
I
tell
like
them
that
what we
phasing
want
stuff
the
in
pool
over
to
the
look
years.
like.
The
We
only
wanna know
Right.
their preferences
problem
for
with
how
that.
they might use it
Right.
and that sort of thing. I think
The cost.
Yeah, and when you start giving people
Well,
that
that's
idea, then
every
it
4 years
doesn't
it's gonna go
come
up
in
so
the pool,
dramatically,
then they
you'll
go, but
exceed
I
the price
told
of the
you
whole
that this
original
is what
pool
I
if you just
wanted,
did
why
it all
isn't
at
it here?
once.
Yeah.
That's the
So-
problem.
And I know we talk about the
I think-
public,
I mean,
and this
maybe
is more along the questions for you and probably David and JP.
That's showbiz, baby.
When we start involving the public, like he says, you know, you have a lot of people that have no interest in the pool, and their opinions are just as valuable.
Sure.
That said, do you recommend just maybe getting a smaller pool committee group, not you guys, but compiled of 10 residents, 15 residents, or do you recommend just inviting every single person to have an opinion that day? I don't know what other municipalities have done. Like, to me, I would think inviting several people that go to the pool on it,
Yeah.
these people are vested in this pool, but I do think it's important to have some people that have zero
It
interest
should be
in the
general
pool.
public, otherwise
And-
it'll feel like we're
right,
building a
so I
pool
think
for
we-
them.
Yeah.
You know?
To me, it would be smarter just to have a pool committee, kinda like we did
Right.
with that, and we would bring, 10, 15, 20 people in versus every.
Yeah, and then at some point, after they've gone through everything, and you think this is the plan, or the
Right.
shopping list, then if you wanna validate it to the general public, you
Right.
can.
Okay,
Right, and say, well, this is what the pool committee
correct,
has worked through that fits within our budget.
right,
Or we're showing phases, right? Another strategy would be you show the pool in several phases.
Okay.
And a lot of times the public decides, why don't we just do it all at once? Well, we don't have the dollars for that. We
Right.
have to ask for a levy, right? And you start having that conversation in that room
Correct,
with it. You know,
Okay.
because they're like, they don't feel like they're getting what they're after,
right.
right? It's sooner than
Right.
later.
I like your idea of the pool committee, cause you know what it's gonna be like if you get 100 people
Oh, yeah.
screaming,
Yeah.
yelling, get
Circus.
nowhere.
Right.
It'll be a
Yeah.
circus.
Yeah.
And you have, and the committee then can help defend
Correct,
the decisions that says, well, here's why we went this route.
right.
Right.
Right, and they're
Starting-
residents,
Yeah.
not just
Pool
us or
committee,
somebody
maybe
else.
you'll take it
Or
away.
building your advocacy group.
Right, and like I said, I would definitely want people that are at the pool, but I think, I think it's very important to have your, I'm gonna call them, I love the pool, your negative Nellies about the pool. I would love to have a couple of them as well, just for the balance. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's important to have the balance, like, okay, why do we need this?
Yeah. Yep, yeah, and that's usually, that's usually in the second step,
Okay,
right? Because you're really talking about specifics
okay,
of a pool design.
right,
This is gonna be a conceptual that we're gonna, we're kinda guessing what everybody, wants.
Right.
But we'll probably be pretty close,
oh yeah, I would, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'd all be pretty close with what you guys are after and what we've seen and what we're
Right.
seeing and.
That is just a nice, compact, efficient looking example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like people would want to come to that pool,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
Do you need me for-
No, I think that was my
I'm gonna
main
get that brick thing for
But there's
you.
enough
Yes, get
shade,
that because
enough
we wanna
shade,
get that
trees and
rolling.
umbrellas, I'm not
Right.
even
We
sure.
will get this presentation to you first thing in the morning.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And,
We sent it to you in PDF form, and we do
Look
have
at
one
this.
hard copy here,
This
whoever would
bird.
like that.
Look what happened.
Jason, you can,
Yeah.
if you wanna take
Super
that
dark.
and then.
Guys, I have to
send
run,
that-
you did an excellent job, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, thanks for the input, it's great.
This burns in about 3 minutes.
But
I would sit out there all day and
would
just get
start
darker.
that
I never know
sooner
what that feels
than
like.
before.
I got lucky.
Yeah,
I did one
think
of
that-
23andMe,
that's
so
gonna
I am
take a little while.
exclusively, Irish and stuff.
yeah. And we'll send you the PDF so that we have
I'm
electronic.
not saying
Thank you.
anything that you don't know, but thinking, the budget and constraints, and then what's the legacy? And I'm just thinking about, my son is 23, and he's into computers. That's what he studied, that's what his life is, but kids are different today. They have expectations, they have attention spans like a gnat. And it's like,
Yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah, this is perfect,
No matter what.
So that's kind of a big, broad brush of everything
good.
that's
What,
out there.
The motion to approve that runs 100% of the time.
timeline wise,
oh yeah, that was my question.
what's realistic here?
for,
From beginning
I
to
mean,
end,
from
like,
this point, when do you think, if
if
in
we
the
had
best
funds.
scenario, what would we look at in
Yeah.
starting
Yeah.
this? What's typical?
Yeah, we gotta pass this year, we gotta
Yeah.
be funding levied this year miraculously, yeah.
yeah. It usually takes a year to plan it
Okay,
and get it bid.
Okay,
So it's pretty much a full year
okay.
on that.
so you're talking
So-
at least 2025,
Are
cause you probably couldn't get it all out and bid and planned and everything by August of 24. Well, I don't know, I guess if you really
No,
went
you could.
gung ho, if you really went
Yeah.
total crazy,
Yeah,
I'm up
you'd have
again in
to start
25.
by
now,
September.
Yeah,
Right.
so
This
best
year.
scenario, it could
could
be a
happen.
2025 pool season.
correct,
Right. So, yeah, so let's say you start this September. You break ground September 24, the spring of 25, that you could open the pool.
Okay. Okay,
a lot of it
Thank you
depends
so
on
much.
your,
I know,
the process.
The public
and how you're
side
gonna
is
build
I know.
the wild card.
I know.
but I think
It is.
And then the
grants, most of the time, we would have to apply for a grant probably within the next 6 months in order to get one
We have to apply, well,
Now.
it depends.
Yeah, because it
some
would
of them we
start
have to apply for by
a year in
May
advance, yeah.
in order to get
Okay.
it for next year.
I wasn't sure how to get to that. Is that a touch screen?
I think it will shut itself off,
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I think it does.
274 seconds.
so,
Yeah.
well, good, so this is great stuff.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have enough information from us? Like,
Sure. Yeah,
Cause I don't know, I thought you said bring your wish list, and I brought a whole list, and I don't know that if we,
Well, as you look at the things that we send you,
Yeah.
perhaps you could, if you have some thoughts, you could
absolutely.
assemble them and
Yeah.
just forward to us.
Right,
Yeah.
I think our building is one thing that we didn't go through, I mean,
Yeah.
we do have we want to be able to host birthday parties the potential of somebody having a wedding and having a reception, cause I did this and our village doesn't have anything like that. So the building for us is definitely,
Yeah.
you know, having the bathrooms and having, you know, a nice little breezeway for people to walk in, but ultimately, we want a party room attached, like that is a big desire for our dream world, I don't know about the committee.
Yeah.
But our dream world is to have
Yeah.
something that even in the winter, we would be able to utilize for, you know, birthday parties or just a secondary event, like we do a Christmas event.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be held at the community building, but it would be nice to have the ability to go down there, have a full kitchen and have that type of stuff there. I mean, as far as the pool, I mean, we just wanna be able to swim.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't wanna act like the pool is not as important, but that, the building down there is really important to us, and having a good concession area is also, you know, we really wanna utilize, we know we're not gonna make all this money, we're aware of that, you know, but
Yeah.
having that for the residents and
Yeah.
closing the gap a little bit, you know,
Right.
with concessions, I mean, we do them now, but having, you know, again, places for fridge and places for microwaves and all that is something important.
Yeah.
Are you bound by the Franklin County Engineers stormwater requirements and their zoning, or do you have your own as a standalone village?
So all I can tell you is we have to go through Franklin County Health Department for everything. So just to put in a slide, we had to go through them for everything, and it was a nightmare, and so I can only assume that we do have to.
I just don't know if you'd have to go through like the storm sewer, the CC drawings and
That
paved parking.
sounds-
We do all of our own CCTV and we upload it as the Village of Minerva Park. We coordinate with Columbus on a lot of our storm sewer and all of that, but they are their own and we are our own.
Okay,
We are
that's
responsible
what I
for-
was trying to
yes.
get to.
No, they're their own, yeah.
We
Mike-
are
yeah, Mike-
responsible
yeah.
for all of it.
They've
Yes.
got a lot of requirements.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we would control that.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mike, you know, Mike would be, you know, could handle any, you know, any of that aspect.
And he would handle all of it, yes, that's
Yeah.
the easy answer.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, no problem.
Wonderful.
Thank you all
Okay.
for your time.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let
Thank
you, we'll send you the, you know,
Yep.
PDF,
Great,
that's,
yes.
that's, you know,
Wonderful.
you can look through. There's one hard copy, if you need others, holler.
Yeah,
And then maybe you digest that for a week or two,
okay.
and, you know, put your, you know, send us emails, whatever.
Now, would it help if he sent you his wish list, just so you have
Sure.
his
Sure.
potential?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that digitally available to
Yes,
our
coming
council
tomorrow.
emails
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
Tomorrow I'm gonna
Yeah,
forward it.
we will send you a PDF.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna send you, I'll see if I can do a little one, or I'll send you a link.
It's a little
down.
big right
That's
now, so
pretty
we'll,
large.
we'll probably pull it back, so it's
You're a
at least.
beautiful soul, thank you.
Yeah, I'll send it to everybody
Emailable.
as soon as we get it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We
But
really
yeah,
appreciate
just-
your time.
Yeah, give yourself some time to kind of digest a little bit. And then we'll take the stab at a concept plan.
Yeah.
For budgeting purposes.
I'm the vision person, so I have it all planned out in my mind.
Okay.
already, so
Hand it
we're
over.
good, yeah. If I could write the check today, you'd have it.
We'll give you a
Yeah,
page up.
yeah, I wish. Yeah, it's not gonna get anywhere.
I can't sign it, just so
Yeah,
you know.
right. she
Always-
can't sign
We
it.
can write it, I
It's an
just can't sign
architect's
it.
trick, keep a contract in your back
David.
pocket.
Oh, basically, yeah.
Hang on,
Do you have some
Do we wanna
napkins around here? We
dismiss-
can-
Hey, let's,
Make a motion to
yeah,
adjourn,
make a
Mr.
motion to
Chair?
adjourn. Yeah, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Alright, all in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, done.